Now let's see about Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, there are some facts. This is the map of Sri Lanka. We are well aware that it is the island country. It's been found to south of India, and the population is a 2 crore, which is approximately equal to Haryana. And this nation got the independence in 1948, just 1 hour before, 1 hour after to our independence. Okay, what was the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, which created a kind of attention? So let's understand. In Sri Lanka, 74% population was basically Sinhala speakers. Sinhala. Sinhala is a language in Sri Lanka. So 74% of the population of Sri Lanka was of Sinhala speakers. Those were basically Buddhist by religion. Buddhism is one of the very uh, calm and a peaceful religion of the world, which we used to feel. Second one is 18% people, 18% population of Sri Lanka was of Tamils. Tamils were also being divided into two groups. 13% were basically the Sri Lankan Tamils, native Tamils, whose we can say forefathers were living in Sri Lanka only, and 5% were the Indian Tamils. Means to say those people from India who have been sent to Sri Lanka to work in the plantation field and to work as an endangered labor during the colonial period, during the British period, and they were never able to come back to India. So they settled down there, they got married there, they started their families there. So their kids, or we can say their generations, those who were living in Sri Lanka, those were being considered as Indian Tamils, and their percentage in the population was 5%. These Tamils were basically Hindus and Muslim both. 7% were basically Christians, those who were Sinhala and Tamil speakers. Means to say, Christians of Sri Lanka, those who were basically the 7%, they used to speak Tamil as well as Sinhala, both the languages. So you have to keep that in mind that 74% people of Sri Lanka were basically Sinhala speaker. They used to speak Sinhala, which is the language of Sri Lanka, and 18% people were basically Tamils, those who were the Tamil speakers, which is also the language of Sri Lanka, and these were being divided into two groups: Sri Lankan Tamils, those were basically 13%, and Indian Tamils 5%. These people, these Tamils were basically Tamil speakers were Hindu as well as Muslims. 7% people, 7% population was of Christians, those who were Tamil speaker as well as Sinhala speaker. What was the problem? Ethnic composition can be found in any other country on the basis of a language. Because nowadays there is a time of a globalization, we can find it out that no country is like there where the native people or the indigenous people of that country are living. There was a problem. There was a problem of the majoritarianism. Majoritarianism is a situation when the country or the political leaders of the country started to support the majority of the country, and all the policies will be framed in such a way that the majority will get benefits, and the majority will get benefit even to pressurize, we can say, or pressurize the minority or dominate the minority. Getting my point? So here in this picture you can find it out that these are the language commission. This is the language commission. This person is being depicted as the language commission of Sri Lanka, who basically take it out this line out, who's barking, who's basically saying that Sinhalese only, Sinhala language will be speaking here, and these Tamil speaker people are being frightened by such kind of a thing. So we have to understand that what majoritarian policies were being accepted by Sri Lankan political leaders. In 1956, what has happened? An act was being passed in Sri Lanka. By that, Sinhala was accepted or recognized as the official language of Sri Lanka. It was the only one language which was being recognized as official language of Sri Lanka, whether they were the Tamil speakers even. Sinhala speakers were getting the preferences in the government jobs as well as in the university position, and Buddhism, because Sinhala speakers were basically Buddhist. So that's why the government declared that Buddhism will be the state religion and government will promote and foster Buddhism only. And the other religions like as Hinduism and Islam would be neglected by the government. Now, just because of such kind of an act, this is considered as the majoritarianism, where the majority of the country is making all the policies for the benefits of majority, and culture, language, and the other aspects of the minorities are being neglected. So just because of that, Tamil people started to feel alienated in their own nation, because they were being denied to give any kind of equal rights, political rights and educational rights, and they were being discriminated in the jobs, in the educational institutions. So Tamils started to feel that no political party is at all considering their problem. No political party at all bothered that their culture, their language, their religion must be protected, because all the policies in Sri Lanka were being made to concern about the Sinhala speakers, the majority. So Tamil started to demand that this Tamil should be recognized as the official language. Second demand was that there should be the equal opportunity for the Tamil speakers in the education as well as in the job opportunities. They started to feel that Tamil people, those areas where the Tamils were in the majority, those areas should be independent, especially the north and the eastern part of Sri Lanka were those areas and still are those areas where the Tamils are found in a majority. Getting my point? So they started to demand that the areas where the Tamils are in the majority, those must be independent. These demands were being continuously denied by the majorities, or we can say by the government of Sri Lanka. By 1980s, few political organizations were being formed. Those who were demanding a separate Elam, because all these demands were being neglected by the Sri Lankan government. So definitely few organizations, we can say some radical political organizations were being formed in Sri Lanka, those who were demanding a separate Elam, separate country, separate state for Tamil people in the northern and the eastern part of Sri Lanka. One of the best example of that is a Litte. LTTE. Many of the web series, many of the Bollywood movies are being formed on this particular organization, Litte, because it was a very famous organization which was working for the independence of Tamils in Sri Lanka, because they want there should be a separate state, separate area, an independent reason for the Tamils in Sri Lanka. The full form of Litte is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. And I think so in 2009, when Prabhakaran, who was the head of that, when he died, then only this Litte organization had goes to it down. Before that, it was a very famous and a very powerful organization, and it's been involved in many kind of a conspiracies even in India. When these demands were being continuously neglected, and these radical political organizations were being formed like as a Litte, then they raised their voice, and definitely they fought with the Sri Lankan government with the weapons. So a kind of a civil war situation arose in Sri Lanka, and you are well aware that if there will be civil war, it means a kind of a war, a kind of a violent war between the groups of a country, or between the government as well as the citizen of the country. So such kind of a situation arose in Sri Lanka, and the result of that was that many people were killed. Definitely it will be like that, because if any violent demand will come and people will come with the weapons, then definitely such kind of a thing will happen. So many people were being killed, many became refugees because they left the country, many people lost their livelihood, and this civil war was ended in 2009 by the defeat of Lite only. So you can understand from 1980s, from the time when Lite was being formed, or we can say that till 2009 this Lite was active, and there was the civil war situation in Sri Lanka. Before that also, when in after 1956, when this act was being passed which was supporting the majority of Sri Lanka, that time also people were feeling alienated and they were raising their voice, but at that time they were not being involved in any kind of a civil war. They were not been fighting with the Sri Lankan government with the weapons. But after the formation of Lite and many other organizations, local organizations were also there. So now you can understand that there are the two examples in front of you. One is of a Sri Lanka and the second one is of Belgium. And at both the places you can find it out that how the government has treated or reacted towards such kind of a situations. In Belgium, the government or the political leader reacted very smartly and they accepted the power sharing methods. That's why there was no civil war, everyone was happy, there was a peace, there was the prosperity in the country. On the second hand, there is a Sri Lanka in front of you where the political leaders, where the government denied to provide the rights to minority or protect the rights of minority, which created the civil war, and definitely it impacted on the economy, on the other aspects of the country. So reasons for power sharing, by that we have understood that power sharing is a very important aspect. So what are the reasons for power sharing? As it's been given in your book, there are the two basic reasons of power sharing. One is the prudential reason and the second one is considered as the moral reason. Prudential reason, which tells about that if there will be power sharing, definitely there will be no conflicts or less conflicts between the social groups. Second is that it will definitely provide the political stability, and this will strengthen the unity of the country because the leaders will not keep on change. It's not like that the leaders will not be changed at all. They will be changed, definitely they will be changed, but through the elections. It will not be like that some of the radical movement group will overthrow the government and will capture the power. So it will not be like that. It will establish the political stability and strengthen the unity of the country. Third point is that it will provide peace and security to all the citizens of the country. No one need to go out and have to leave the country. Everyone will live there, will work on the prosperity of the nation. So these are the three reasons which are known as the prudential reason. Let me to make this in your mind, keep that in your mind, that prudential means something which is related to profit and loss, जिससे कुछ फायदा या कुछ नुकसान हो रहा हो. Getting my point? So these are the benefits. ये सारे फायदे हो रहे हैं. It will help to reduce the conflict between the social groups, different social groups which are living there. It will establish the political stability, strengthen the unity of the country, and will provide peace and security to all the citizens of the country. Everyone will live there peacefully with security. They will not be having any kind of a fear because everyone is being treated equally. So there won't be any problem. Second reason is a moral reason. And the first point is that it is the very spirit of democracy. We have to share the power because it is the Atma, it is the Jaan, it is everything of democracy. Because democracy, what's the democracy? Democracy says that everyone should be treated equally. Every citizen of the country would be equal in the eye of law. Every citizen of the country would be having the participation in the government making. So power sharing, it's all about power sharing. No? Democracy is based on power sharing. It is a key feature of a democracy. So there is a tagline, moral reason of power sharing is that it is the very spirit of democracy. Because in democracy, all the citizens have the right to be consulted on that how they wanted to be governed. And in a democratic rule, all people participate through elections and through pressure groups, which I'll let you know later on also, in the stake of the system. So this is considered as the moral reason of a power sharing. From here, assertion reason question can also be formed. Like as one, let me to tell you about this. Assertion can be uh, power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Okay, this is a statement, and which is right even. Reason can be because in the democracy, uh, all the people all the citizens of the country are being treated equally, and they have the participation in the government making even. And then after it, you are well aware that in assertion and reason, which kind of options you used to get, that both A and R are true, and R is the best explanation of A. Second point can be both A and R are true, but R is not the best explanation of A. But you are well aware that here assertion is also right and the reason is also right, and that is the best explanation of assertion. So both A and R are true, and basically reason is giving the best explanation of assertion. So today up to here, and then we will discuss about India, where we will came to know that how in India the power sharing methods can be seen and where we used to see the power sharing. Okay, so thank you very much.